Hi, this is Chuck G. The following video is my overview video for AI in Industry and Society. This is for class EST 110, the digital generation, investigating AI ethics, social impact, and real-world applications for spring 2026. This is with Professor Dr. Pisano. So for this project on AI in Industry and Society, I've chosen education really because of the same reasoning that I used to select this class in general. The rapid expansion of AI in schools really raises significant ethical and policy challenges. The United States is currently lacking in any unified federal strategy for AI, within the sector. So this leaves all staff, all forms of educators and students without any guidance for the appropriate use of such technology. So what this essentially does is it places an unfair burden, in my view, of ethical consideration, and it's a choice essentially the student has to make. So I really feel that's unfair. So within the federal government that has taken this deregulatory stance, if you will, the states essentially have been implementing their own laws as of January 1, 2026. Several, such as California and Colorado, have each passed different forms of AI bills. These are varied approaches, and they really highlight the fragmented nature of AI governance in, you could say, in United States education. So really, despite this inconsistency, this deregulation, while at the same time has left everyone splintered in education, has also accelerated innovation and has positioned the U.S. as the leader in developing new AI tools for learning. And for this project, I plan for you now, to outline the three major AI applications and related technologies that are presently being used in education. So we have adaptive learning. These are adaptive learning engines, and they use machine learning to personalize a sequence of lessons for each student. This really creates individualized learning paths for each student based on their current knowledge. For instance, there's a Bayesian knowledge tracing. This is something that evaluates whether students truly understand a concept. Item response estimates student ability relative to the question difficulty. Knowledge space theory, this is what maps a student and whether or not what they're ready to learn next. And then reinforcement learning determines the most effective sequence of the learning content. So overall, the adaptive learning technologies offer a refined data-driven approach, but they cannot replace what emotional content and sociologically speaking and emotionally speaking from a person, from an actual teacher, and the human presence of someone, in their presence who's teaching, essentially. So next we have automated assessment and teacher first automation. So several forms of AI technologies are used, and the goal is to reduce administrative tasks and provide faster, consistent feedback to students. Within this portion, they have LLMs, which are called large language models. These use semantic analysis. These interpret student answers and explain the decisions, the rationale behind grading. Also, computer vision and OCR digitize things like handwriting, and they also analyze facial expressions. So predictive analytics and early warning systems is another which identifies students who may need support by analyzing their behavior and their academic patterns, how, for instance, they swipe in and out or where they go on premises. And they also are generative AI tools, which are also used to assist with scaffold and lesson planning. So, although these systems are making things efficient, they really are a bit disturbing and Orwellian in nature, because there's just concerns about surveillance bias and there's really an ethical issue behind predicting student behavior. Next, we have AI-powered intelligent tutoring systems, or ITS. These are one-on-one digital tutors that adapt to students' needs. ITS technology is really built on four core models. We have the expert model. This stores subject knowledge, the student model, which tracks what a learner knows. The pedagogical model, which selects student strategies, and the communication interface, which is how the student is interacting with the machine. ITS relies on several AI techniques. This would be machine learning to monitor problem-solving patterns, NLPs, which are called natural language processing, to interpret student questions, generative AI to produce content-aware responses, and affective computing to detect emotional cues. So while ITS can really greatly support learning through individualized guidance, the uses of affective computing come across as a bit intrusive and definitely raise some red flags in terms of ethical considerations, in my view. On the next subject here, we have future developments and ethical considerations. Future developments in educational AI will really increasingly become focused on this emotional awareness, and there'll be a really big linkage, in my view, to learning technologies. We'll see a larger increase of things such as intelligent tutoring systems, the ITS, affective computing, things like multimodal interaction and advanced language models. All of these things are going to evolve. Tutors, are expected to become more personalized, interactive, and essentially available 24/7. So, 24/7 tutors. So these systems really, they disturb me a bit because they look to reduce the role of the teacher. And I think the more that we do that, we're changing the role from the teacher into a mentor. I have a real problem with that in terms of the psychology, the negative side effects of the psychology, and how younger students are going to grow up, essentially. So, the societal impact, to move on to the next one. So if we think of a really heavy digitized approach to teaching, puts things such as social and emotional development of young students, it jeopardizes that. It raises a question. Nobody really knows what the outcome of that is. So these could have really negative long-term effects, and can really weaken emotional resilience, or any abilities to navigate like real-world challenges. Getting up and finding a job, things of this nature. Then there's also concerns about affective computing having these ethical implications. Who's responsible for keeping or mining this data? Who's protecting it? Who's the gatekeeper to that? And I think, as I mentioned in the piece, if we look at companies such as Google, I think we've learned something, I hope, as a society from those companies that have just been so intrusive in things like marketing, and have paid attention to how we write and what we buy and what we like and what music we listen to. So there's lots of psychological undercurrents here. So in conclusion, I just want to state AI is highly transforming education through such venues as adaptive learning systems, automated assessment tools, intelligent tutoring technologies, and these are, again, looking to reduce the teacher workload. So while these innovations offer clear benefits, much more efficiency, support, and expanded access to learning, they really introduce this big ethical and social concern. And in my view, they really are quite Orwellian, in a sense. And I think we've been warned, years ago about this kind of stuff. So is emotionally aware AI and affective computing become, much more common. Excuse me. There's risks to students' privacy, autonomy, again, social emotional development. That's really the real big reason for me, is that social emotional development. And then with the United States lacking this unified federal strategy, the schools really face a fragmented landscape of regulatory concerns that leave students without any protection, really. So moving forward, the challenge is going to be balancing the potential of AI with, some sort of guardrails that really harness the human connection. And we need regulatory laws in place that realize the importance of the human connection, the importance of people and teachers. So I think there's a place for this technology in essentially any field, but I think we shouldn't look to replace people so quickly. We just want to get out there and say, here's the technology, we don't need you anymore. So I think these are all things that should be considered. And thank you so much for your time.